You're listening to Late Night Radio on the SHR Media Network. Caution, there will be mature themes explored and potentially adult language used. If conservatarian words, phrases, certain concepts, or rhetoric offends you, tune out now.
Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it on to our children in the bloodstream. The only way they can inherit the freedom we have known is if we fight for it, protect it, defend it, and then hand it to them with the well-taught lessons of how they in their lifetime must do the same. And if you and I don't do this, then you and I may well spend our sunset years telling our children and our children's children what it once was like in America when men were free.
I have come here to chew bubble gum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubble.
I am all out of bubble gum. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to BZ's Berserk, Bobcat, Saloon radio show, live and direct right here on the SHR Media Network. You can watch me live, and if you would, subscribe, please, on the SHR Media YouTube channel and also the SHR Media Rumble channel. Rumble in the jungle. I figured out something, how to make Rumble work, and how to make Rumble easier for me. Of course, I was complicating everything by twice, at least twice. So, folks, welcome to the show. Who am I? What am I? I am your conservative Sherpa. I am guiding you through the maelstrom of Demorat, leftist, globalist, lies, chaos, deceit, and betrayal all at once. Today, by the way, happens to be Tuesday, the 8th of April, the year of our Lord 2025. And as per normal, I want to tell you that this show consists of my opinion and my opinion only. I do not have any guests tonight. It is just me, and that is it. What am I doing? Like I said, I am your conservative Sherpa, but I am fundamentally changing America one leftist diaper at a time. And we don't water our drinks, just like we don't water our conversations. We are still serving stiff drinks in the saloon, along with facts, history, logic, rationality, clarity, proportion, context, tradition, and common sense for people like you and me. And so thanks for being here tonight. What do we talk about? Everything. Besides anything, everything. Politics, religion, crime, culture, economics, race, sex, science, law. We talk about it all right here at the saloon, where the speech is free, but the booze is not. The intro lingers off. Do-do-do-do. I'm streaming live right now. Thanks for being here. Already we've got some comments in the chat room. And let's look. Mission Ready Men is the first one in to say hello and welcome. I'm so happy and so glad to be here. So that's not exactly what he said, but I sort of said it for him anyway. Mission Ready Men, thank you for being here. Now, perhaps you might be saying to yourself something similar to self. What is Mission Ready Men? Mission Ready Men is Earl Big E Jackson. That's right there. He has his own show on SHR. He has an AM show, whereas most of us have PM shows. And Earl Biggie Jackson is on, not Biggie, B-I-G-G-Y. Come on, you folks. Big E, like Earl. He's on Tuesday and Thursdays, 9 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Central, and noon Eastern. That is Big E, and thanks to him for being here in the show. I tried something new. I'll get to that in just a moment. Well, what the hell? I'll get to it now. I did a new show today, and I'm not sure if I'm going to continue with it. One of the reasons that I did it is I wanted to find out if I'm going to be streaming acceptably for example, tonight. And I discovered that by doing what I did, or at least doing what other people had told me to do, I simplified things. in terms of turning on the various streams, because I'm streaming right now to six places at least. And let's see, there's a comment back up in the chat room. Oh, Mission Ready Men says, thank you for the promo. I know what he means. So if you think I'm putting words in my mouth, in his mouth, I'm not, because he just happens to be a super guy. But I did a new show today at 1 p.m. and I called it BZ's 15-minute throat punch. And that's all it was. A 15-minute show full of kind of the top articles for today. And then I stopped. So if anybody hasn't seen that, you can find it back on Rumble from today, April 8th. And just let me know in the chat, if you would, please. Is that something that you would be interested in, a 15-minute shorty show? Because I'm still going to continue doing the 1 to 2 hour shows on Tuesday and Thursday nights. But I guess you could say I'm kind of challenging myself in terms of, do I want another show that's shorter, kind of during the day, perhaps for some people to watch in podcast later on? Anyway, I don't know how successful I will happen to be in that. Perhaps yes, perhaps no. Anyway, we have a great show for you, and let's start with the odd, with the weird. Let's start here. Oh, come on. I'm going to start with production problems. No, I'm not. Here we go. Nice. Well, I just want to let you know that as opposed to a story that I'm going to be telling you a little bit later on, there is love in the Demorat party. And there's always hope. There's always help, and there's always hope from technology. Take it away.
Distraught after the recent presidential election, here at Don't Cry Cryo, we understand your pain, and we're here to help. Our expert team of cryogenic care providers can cryogenically freeze you until the Trump presidency has ended.
Beautiful.
No more crying, no more anxiety attacks, just blissful sleep until Trump is gone. When you awaken from your slumber, we'll even have a party ready and waiting for you.
Cool.
It will be like his presidency never even happened. It was all just a bad dream. As an added bonus, you can choose the Vance add-on package. We'll extend your sleep for an additional 4 years at a 50% discount in the event J.D. Vance wins the next presidential election.
Right.
Everything will be okay. We're here to take care of you in your time of need. So remember, don't cry, cryo.
But wait, there's more. Uh-oh.
Where am I? Oh, please tell me it's over. Wait, something isn't right.
This is your captain, Elon Musk. I want to be the first one to welcome you to Mars. Sorry, Donald Trump Jr. was just elected president, and he deported all Don't Cry Cryo customers to Mars.
What the?
There's always hope. It's like I've said, there's always going to be hope. Even if you're a leftist, there's always hope, even if you happen to be a Republican. Well, if you happen to be a Republican, did this really happen with Donald Trump?
¿Qué pues, pinche gringo mamón? Si tengo mi green card.
Nice music.
Thanks for your collaboration. And remember, Don, come back again.
Right.
Y el gringo nos quiere cobrar el muro. Dile que no, pinche gringo racista. Pues no te pagaremos nada.
Wait a minute, please.
Hold on. Hold on. Uh-oh. And by the way, did you guys happen to notice that in that wonderful PSA, public service announcement, that Kid Rock was playing music in the background? Perfection. That's simply perfection. Why are leftist white chicks still doing this? It's 6 months after the election, and they can't stop.
Nobody understands. My family doesn't understand. Everyone in my family voted for Trump. And my child's trans, and I'm so hurt. And I don't understand how you can say that you love someone and vote against their rights. I don't understand it. It's very hard to understand. Well, my kids are off limits. Nobody understands.
I think we understand. And frankly, it's very sad because I feel your pain. Do I feel your pain? I feel your pain this way.
It's time for happy stories and good times.
Here's a happy story, and I went over this story earlier today at 1 p.m. during the 15-minute Throat Punch show. This is a happy story. Now, it's interesting to watch how different these stories are portrayed by various aspects of the media. This happens to be Fox News. Fox News is moving away from, people perceive it to be on the right, so it's being pushed purposely center and then left because the sons of the owner have declared it thusly. This article, however, says Supreme Court grants Trump request to lift stay halting Venezuelan deportations. So Judge Boasberg, and we'll get into him, not literally, of course. Come on, you guys, get your minds out of the gutter. But it's interesting to note he was overturned in this. And now this is how Fox News portrays this article. And then there's this. This is the New York Times. And the headline and the lead is everything. In the New York Times, in Trump cases, by the way, is that intimating that he won 2 cases? Why, yes. Isn't that odd? Yes, it is. In Trump cases, Supreme Court retreats from the Constitution. It didn't go their way. So when it doesn't go their way, SCOTUS retreats from the Constitution. Well, you should be pleased, leftists, Demorats, and the American media maggots, that the beloved Amy Coney Barrett is now your child. Because Amy Coney Barrett voted of the 5-4, she's part of the 4, plus the other 3 leftists that decided that, no, we can't have the act you've known for all these years, and it's not Sgt. Pepper's Band. It's the, I think, 1798 law with regard to deportations. But the point of this right now is to illustrate this was how Fox News indicates it, and this is how the New York Times makes its own very intimate illustration. I like Stephen Miller. Stephen Miller is God, this is right out of a cartoon. And a stoop observation. Stephen Miller frequently makes astute observations. Great observations. Take it, Steve, please.
This was a huge, a monumental victory for President Trump. The biggest legal win of this administration so far. A total embarrassment for crazy Judge Boasberg, who's been trying to force this president to bring foreign alien terrorists back onto American soil, trying to turn our planes around, trying to empty prisons in foreign countries and bring them back to our soil.
No.
This is a monumental, colossal victory
for
the rule of law, for the Constitution, for our founding generation, John Adams, who signed this law into effect in 1798, and for President Trump in fulfilling his...
That's what I was trying to think of, the 1798 law. I can't even get my years right.
Mandate and campaign pledge. What does this mean for you and your family watching at home tonight? It means that the Department of Justice, FBI, DEA, ATF, the U.S. Marshal Service, Customs and Border Protection, Border Patrol, and Immigrations and Customs Enforcement now have maximum authority to find and remove illegal alien gang members from Venezuela that have been responsible for so much misery in this country, for the torture and murder of Jocelyn Ungary, for the brutal slaying of Laken Riley. Those monsters can now be hunted down and expelled from this country with speed, force, and efficiency. This is a great day for America, Sean.
Absolutely a great day for America. And it's a great day for you and me. That occurred Monday. But I have happy stories, and I said there were two major happy stories. Did I not? Well, let's continue. And if you've ever wondered, maybe you sat down, because I do politics, and if you're here watching, you do politics too. Did you ever wonder, scratch in the head, hey, how did Judge James Boasberg ever glom on to that Tren de Aragua case when he wasn't the assigned emergency judge on March 15th? Well, wait, he didn't happen to use his position to cherry pick that case or anything similar to that, did he?
Judge Boasberg, over the weekend, it came out, he's not the emergency judge in D.C. He inserted himself in that role. He was on vacation. The case was filed at 2:30 in the morning. Somehow he ended up with that case. He wasn't the emergency judge on duty. So I think this requires further investigation and legislation.
Well, it also goes back to mom and dad, doesn't it? If you have a particular thing that you want as a child, you're going to play mom and dad off of each other. You know, in certain cases, whom to ask. Occasionally it's mom, occasionally it's dad. Don't tell me that all the leftists don't know which judges are going to be susceptible and open-brained to whatever kind of a lame-brained scheme that they're trying to pass through the leftist judicial anarchists. They know. They have lists. Continue.
So let me get that straight, because I'll quote you on that, because that is news to me and maybe a lot of other people too. If he wasn't the emergency judge who would naturally matriculate into that position on this, he just gets to pick himself and say, well, I'm the favorite. Let me go do this case against Trump.
By the way, Roberts already decided that guy, he was going to be on the FISA court. As a matter of fact, weird.
He's the chief judge, and he inserted himself. That doesn't happen. The emergency judges 100% of the time get those cases. So he could have been tipped off that this was going to be filed. And while
do you think? This is the first of the show. Do you think? Really? I think so.
On vacation, he took the case. So again, this speaks to, I think, the very aggressive, unusual, and unprecedented measures that these activist judges are taking to insert themselves. Ultimately, they're not going to be right. The Supreme Court's going to slap them down. But the Judicial Conference judge.
Oh, was that a prognostication right there? It may have been. It's early. It's early. To which I say to a lot of people, it's early. Cool your jets. Cool them.
Chief Justice Roberts ought to look at this. And we also, the Article 1 branch, I intend to file legislation to make sure this randomness, which is supposed to happen when these cases are assigned, actually happens. We need more transparency because right now, people don't think it's random at all.
So what I think you are getting...
No, it's a choice. It's judge shopping and a judge who already is sympathetic to people on the left. Come on, don't tell me the judges aren't. They're impartial. Amy Coney Barrett was impartial. You know, people make mistakes. People make mistakes of all kinds. And that's why the courts are fungible. Science is fungible. Shit changes. We have to be able to change with it, to roll with the punches and change things to our own sides like everybody else when we can.
Getting at is the politics that potentially are being played, where a judge who may feel a certain way politically may step up against Trump at this point. So it fits right in with a brand new opinion piece titled "America Has a Robed Politician Problem," arguing that the left, unable to secure their agenda at the ballot box, has turned to national injunctions as a weapon to engineer outcomes they could not achieve democratically.
Stop. Let's analyze that. Because let's go back to November 5th. If you don't think that Trump got a mandate back then, well, he dates women. He's married. But he did acquire a mandate in terms of the Electoral College and also the popular vote, which is something that a Republican hasn't acquired in quite some time. And that didn't occur during 45 with the electoral vote and the popular vote, not nearly what it was now. So the conclusion to be extruded from that is, yes, it was a mandate to go forth and carry out the platform upon which you campaigned. America has a robed politician problem. And what the leftists, Demorats, and globalists and the American media maggots couldn't acquire by themselves was their own person put in. You know, they didn't want Biden. Then they put Biden in there. Excuse me. They didn't want Clinton. Then they wanted Biden. And then they wanted Bernie Sanders. Then they realized that he was going to stop the spice. The spice must flow. So Biden went in there. Then they didn't like Biden. Then Biden fell apart in public, on television. And then Biden had to get kicked aside. They're not going to come to a convention and do anything except proclaim that Kamala Harris is now our shindig. She's our chick. And she fell apart in public as well. So everything turned to crap for the Demorats. They're still attempting to assemble the wagons or circle the wagons, shall it be said, which customarily they are very good at doing. But if not A, then B. They didn't get A, so they have to get B. Well, B was impeachment, 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 investigation, 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 which was allowed and acquired because they held the House and they held the Senate, and they could do, kind of, sort of, almost anything that they wanted. And now they can't. So if you can't go to mom and you can't go to dad and you can't go to your favorite uncle and your grandparents are out of town, who do you go to? You go to the black-robed leftist anarchists and hand select USDA prime in terms of judges. So this is correct. They didn't get what they wanted, so they're going to do it and subvert the system with leftist judges who are making decisions that everyone is interpreting, and I believe wrongly so, that it holds not just in the district in which that judge resides, but it holds nationwide. Bullshit.
What's your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, this is really the fundamental difference between a conservative justice and a liberal activist judge. The conservative will view the law as it's written, not how they want it to be. But the liberals, for a very long time in this country, they had control of the Supreme Court. They just made up things. They made up rights that didn't exist to get to a political outcome. Now that you have a more conservative court, they're desperate. They're not in power in Congress anymore. And so I think a lot of these judges are taking it upon themselves to usurp really important power. For example, when President Trump declared a predatory incursion of these criminal violent gangs, he's well within his Article 2 executive power to deport them. He can do that. The judge, by stepping in there, Judge Boasberg, by stepping in the case that we're talking about, he somehow got, said you can't do that. That is like that judge dictating missile strikes or deciding troop movements. Those are national security issues. Those are those are powers of the commander in chief that the judge doesn't get to do. So the separation of powers works both ways. You don't get to kind of jump into the Article 2 branch's authority on commander in chief powers. So I think you're about to see all these cases make their way to the Supreme Court. And I think President Trump's on very firm ground, but we should address these abuses that are happening now every day.
Absolutely. And these abuses are continuing. And they, just as per Thug's Law, I want to remind you about Thug's Law. I learned this as a cop. Thug's Law can be extrapolated out into politics, into the real world as well. Thug's Law goes like this, kind of like the 80-20 rule. 80% of the crime is committed by 20% of the criminals because criminals going to crim, period. So Thug's Law goes like this. What's mine is mine, and what's yours is mine, unless you're strong enough to stop me. Now, I speak leftist, so I always translate for you. In terms of politics is Demorats don't give a shit about anybody, about the law, or how many people have to fall, how many Americans have to get killed behind their philosophies. And that's Thug's Law. Oh, well, then what happens if somebody has standing? They're going to continue to do what they do until there is pushback, literal pushback, or people who have standing objecting, or people writing, calling, texting, sending messages, emails to their senators and Congress critters. So until there is some form of pushback, it's going to continue. Well, they found another way to undermine all of that, and that's by way of the judicial system. That will continue. What do I got? I got about another 2 minutes before the bottom of the hour break. And then, of course, Donald John Trump weighed in.
Get the criminals out, get the murderers out, the drug dealers, the mentally insane, get them out. They dropped the mentally insane in our country, too. And this was all done by the Biden administration. It's a disgrace that we have to work so hard. And then we have judges that try and protect these people. But they didn't protect us when the people were being let in. But to get them out is never easy with these people. So I think we're doing a great job. The border is the best it's ever been.
Oh, boy.
Even as strong as it was, I had a great, solid border. I think it might even be tougher right now and stronger. So people are coming into our country, but they're coming in legally. We have a legal process, and we have that moving along properly because we need people to come into our country, but we want people that can love our country and cherish our country. So that's where we are.
And that's where we are. And that's where I am. The first half hour down the can. When we come back, I've got some other great stories to tell you about. And we're going to later be talking about tariffs. It's like this every day, every hour, every week, every month is the proverbial target-rich environment for politics. You know, as I say, there's so much going on. How do you keep up with it? I literally cannot keep up with it. I literally cannot keep track of all of these things. But for me and people like me, these are wondrous times. And as I've said numerous times, on numerous occasions, I don't have to make any of this up. I don't need to. What I do is I bring the articles and the videos to you via the internet that the American media maggots purposely choose to ignore. And with that bit of truth, I'll be right back.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Come listen to BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show. Live on select and exclusive Tuesday and Thursday nights at 11 p.m. Eastern, 10 p.m. Central, and 8 p.m. Pacific on the SHR Media Rumble channel, SHR Media YouTube channel, X, Twitch, Spreaker, and wherever great conservative podcasts are found. BZ, your conservative Sherpa, guides you through the maelstrom of Democrat, leftist, and globalist lies, chaos, deceit, and betrayal. Raised as a free-range child with dirt, stains, mud, and freedom, BZ broadcasts from North Idaho, comfortably surrounded by actual normal people. Jump into our plush, sumptuous, palatial, and resplendent chat room on rumble.com. Click on live chat to join. Now, with 37% more umbrage and 19% more bulbosity than previous shows, featuring delicious Liberty additives for the best in late-night conservatarian talk radio. BZ reminds you that with great beard comes great responsibility. No chinchillas were harmed, embarrassed, fat-shamed, or the focus of any sarcasm whatsoever in the making of this ad.
Hello, I'm Matt, a student at Hillsdale College. Here is Hillsdale President Larry Arnn on the continuing relevance of the Constitution.
Many argue today that the Constitution is outdated because it addresses problems peculiar to the 18th century. Some parts of the Constitution do read rather quaintly. Consider the injunction against titles of nobility in Article 1, Section 9 of the Constitution. But is that so outdated? The purpose of the injunction is to prevent the government granting special privileges to some for partisan reasons. This strikes at the heart of the rule of law. The crony capitalism so common today is a place where the government bestows favors and tax dollars on some businesses to give them a leg up over others. This is exactly the kind of thing the Constitution was meant to prohibit. The Constitution is not so outdated after all.
This Constitution Minute was brought to you by Hillsdale College. To join the national conversation on the Constitution, go to constitutionminute.com.
Hey fellas, are you mission ready? Coming in November to SHR Media. By way of Big E Jackson, you need to check out Mission Ready Men. It's a show that equips you to navigate our society's challenges from a biblical perspective with courage and conviction. Tune into Mission Ready Men as we examine our culture through the prism of biblical truths, teachings, and how to apply them in our daily lives. Prepare to step up, stand out, and step into your role as a man, as ordained by God. That's Mission Ready Men, hosted by Earl Jackson, coming this November on the SHR Media Network. And get mission ready.
Want to make an immediate difference in the life of a critically ill child? You have the ability to do that right now. Make a donation to Dream Makers for Life, the organization that restores dreams to seriously ill children and their families. You can sponsor a dream pack for a child, which contains a clear PVC backpack, a dry erase board adventure coloring book, a journal, and dry erase markers to inspire a critically ill child to envision a future adventure and hope. Want to become a dream maker for life yourself? Go to dreamforlife.org. That's dreamforlife.org. Help a child. Help a family. There is always hope.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
And we're back. I am BZ. You are in the Saloon. BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon. Our plush, sumptuous, and palatial chat room awaits just you. You can go into our chat room. The best place to be is the SHR YouTube chat room. That's where most of the people go. You can go into Rumble chat, but I just don't have the time or the technological ability or the intelligence or the smarts to monitor that as much as it requires monitoring. And the other thing is my laptop, which customarily sits over there monitoring Rumble, is gone. I've decided that I could make things smoother in the show by attempting to get rid of it. Anyway, when you're on Rumble, click on live chat to enter. The chat room is always open. And share the show, if you would, please. Share the show while you're here, far and wide. Let's continue with this.
It's time for happy stories and good times.
Looks like we got a second win in SCOTUS. This comes from USA Today. Not quite as biased a headline. U.S. Supreme Court halts reinstatement of fired federal employees. But again, like the American media maggots commonly do, and many of our media maggot friends across the pond, they buried the lead. And the lead is this: thousands of fired employees, fired federal employees, were told, the Trump administration was told initially, you got to bring them back. You can't fire them. And then SCOTUS, it went up to SCOTUS. That's why the other gentleman before the break said, I have a fairly good feeling that Trump is going to prevail on many of these cases. Well, here's two already that have gone up to SCOTUS, and Trump has prevailed. But the lead that was buried was this: do you have a proprietary right as a new employee to not be fired? BC, what do you mean? When you go into a job, don't you customarily, and certainly with government jobs, it was certainly true with any government job that I held, and I was in law enforcement. Those were my government jobs, a number of them, both federal and not state, but local counties. Well, 2 feds and 2 other agencies. Do you have a proprietary right to that job inherently? Well, even in the state of California, always spell it with a K, there are probationary periods of time where you are evaluated as an employee. Now, the people that were fired here were what? Probationary employees. And that's one of the things that almost no one on the American media maggots manages to get right. They were probationary employees. Now, this morning, I happen to be monitoring and listening to Rick Robinson's The Rick Robinson Show, which you can see Tuesday. Let me see if I get this right. Tuesday through Friday, The Rick Robinson Show at KLRN Radio, and it begins at 9 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Central. I got to get my times right. And noon Eastern. And as I was listening to Rick, he let me know about this article. Doge officials confirm what we've known all along. Illegal immigrants are on Medicaid and they are voting. Now, isn't that inherently what you thought and what you believed? And yes, it turns out that, yes, this is true all along. Pierogi. Welcome to chat. Good to see you here. California needs a lot of work. It is very corrupt. Oh, boy, is it. But let's get into some numbers further that I discovered, because I took that one article and then began to do what I called the logical extension to find out, let's discover some more information. Let's discover some true stats about that. And that is this. Stu Varney says this. It was a great little interview with Stu Varney from Fox Business. Incredible numbers. I don't know if you can read this, but I will read this to you because that is what I do here in the saloon. Non-citizen Social Security numbers issued over the past 4 years. I want you to note a particular trend that you're going to see from these numbers. Non-citizen Social Security numbers, 270,425 in 2021. 590,193 in 2022. That's double. 964,163 in 2023. That's about 1 million. Doubled again. 2,095,247 in 2024. Doge found immigration gave a work authorization document to illegal invaders. So, Stuart, if you would, please, kindly take it away. Stuart? Go.
Fox to reveal what's really going on. Doge exposed our immigration asylum disaster. That was the tip of the iceberg. Now, here's the story. Doge has found that immigration gave a work authorization document to illegals just 5 months after they filed for asylum.
Now, didn't you already? We have intuited all of these things. And just when you think, well, because obviously the people on the left are going to call you conspiracy theorists. But it turns out most everything in which Donald John Trump, OMB, Orange Man Bad, the guy with the dead orange cat on his head, has said, and you and I, as being labeled conspiracy theorists, and because we were conspiracy theorists, we were throttled, we were censored. I had my Twitter account completely stripped from me. Only after Elon Musk returned did I get that back. But we were censored. We were told we were conspiracy theorists, when in fact we were conspiracy realists.
That document allowed them to work while they waited to hear whether their asylum request had been accepted or denied. So they could work as an illegal, knowing it would take years before their case was heard. The Immigration Department mailed.
Now, why wouldn't their case be heard for years? Because there are a greatly limited number of immigration judges. And all they know is this. All they need to know is this. At one point, if I can get my ankles moist in the Rio Grande and come across, I'm in. I am in here, and you're going to have to blow me out with debt cord. Except now, not quite so easy. But it's a scam. It's a grift. It is corrupt. It is fraud. It is abuse. It is the ridiculous expectation that all of your hard-earned taxpayer dollars are going to be spent on illegal invaders and bullshit like this to get them in. Why? Votes. And let's not forget the people on the right. There are some people on the right that also want these people in there because they are cheap labor. Oh, Jasmine Crockett might mention something about that a little bit later in the show. Might she?
Them a social security number. No interview, no proof of identity. Just put it in the mail. Here's your number. In 2021, Doge says...
Okay, stop. Everybody here knows that the social security number is the key to the kingdom. And here are the numbers that I told you about. 2021, 22, doubled. 23, double that. 24, and here we are. And Bob's your uncle. Continue.
270,000 new aliens were issued Social Security numbers. 590,000 in 2022, 964,000 in 2023, and 2.1 million in 24, right before Biden left office. Doge also discovered that 1.3 million aliens are now receiving Medicaid. Millions received driver's licenses, some registered to vote, and Doge says some actually did vote. Try and square that against Democrat claims that Musk is destroying Social Security and cutting Medicaid.
No, what Doge is doing and what Trump is doing and what Elon Musk is assisting in is making sure that your taxpayer dollars are not infinitely, there will be nothing like that they are more accountable than they ever have been before under any president. Maybe even in the future. Time will tell. We'll have to see. Under 45 and under 47, I have never in my lifetime, I'm 75 years old. I'm approaching 80. I have never seen a president come even slightly close to making good on his campaign promises like Donald Trump. Ever. Never seen that.
He's not destroying. He's weeding out people who don't qualify. Who is really guilty of misinformation in this case? It is not Elon Musk.
Truth. That is the ultimate truth. And yet, don't be faked out by thinking that there aren't a ton of leftists who think that everyone except you, everyone is downtrodden. Everyone deserves a chance in America, including way too many, and I'm just going to be blunt because that's what I am. Way too many faux religious pieces of shit by way of religious NGOs that want these people in here because they feel sorry for them. One word to you shit sticks: unsustainable. Oh, BZ, being so judgmental and harsh in terms of religion. Well, it should also be no shock that I'm not a fan of organized religion. One other thing that I want to add here and bring in, and I spoke briefly about this earlier, and that's that we're having some movement. And the movement is in the U.S. military. Now, B-2 stealth bombers did strike the Houthi. And I can't point my little thing on this right now. I can't point my indexer, my mouse on this. But if you look at the upper left portion, you'll see the Harry S. Truman Carrier Strike Group. And then go down to about midpoint over the right in the blue, Carl Vinson. That's a Carrier Strike Group. And these B-2 bombers, and you can also see there are some B-52 Stratofortrei that were launched from Diego Garcia. It's about a 6 to 8 hour flight over and back, over to Yemen. Now, a lot of people are saying, oh, well, saber rattling. We're striking the Houthi. And, okay, I'm sorry. I can't say that word and not giggle, at least inside Houthi. Wasn't there a restaurant like that? And then, so because of that, there's another individual that I referred to earlier, Ken Klippenstein, who's a pretty big lefty, who says, Pentagon prepares for Trump to go berserk. So what this means is Trump is going to unleash hell on Iran. Well, Trump did drop under 45 some cruise missiles into Syria, but he's not calling for a war in Ukraine, and he's not calling for a war in Iran. But these guys are in fact doing that. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 B-2s in Diego Garcia. And it's very interesting that these guys are saying that in terms of saber rattling, it's something that Trump absolutely loves to do. And that it's not about Yemen. It's preparing for something in Iran. Well, let me ask you. What do I got about 11 minutes before the top of the hour break. I got time to chat about this. Just briefly. Is this about Yemen? Is this about Iran? Iran was absolutely 110% favored under the Barack Hussein Obama administration, continuing on with the Barack Hussein Obama administration number 3 with puppet Joe Vegetable. And that continued. So they were almost like a favored terrorist nation. Why was it ever good to give any amount of money to Iran? Funding terrorists, it's like a motto, funding terrorism for the past 100+ years against the infidel and primarily against the United Snakes of America. I find this also interesting, and I'm going to mention these 2 articles in passing. Ukraine now says that, it captured a couple of Chinese nationals fighting in the Russian army. So then the first thing I think is this some kind of an indicator that the Russians are having a bit of difficulty in terms of trying to locate troops? Well, Russia's having difficulty with its military. China is having difficulty with its military. The Russians, Putin, are having economic problems, and the Chinese are having economic problems. Now, this isn't, I find this right here very interesting. Now, we'd heard, of course, that there were North Koreans. What's the difference now? What had happened that ABC has decided that an article is going to come out today? We knew that there were North Koreans there in Ukraine fighting on behalf of Russia. Then we discover that there are some Chinese nationals who are fighting on behalf of Russia in Ukraine. ABC News decided to come out with this today. They do not surrender. Ukraine commander details fight with North Koreans in Russia. Well, you know why they don't surrender? It's similar to Stalin in World War II, where if you're a Russian fighter, if you're in the infantry, and you don't attack when told, if you begin to turn, you'll be shot. It's as simple as that with the North Koreans as well. If they do not show well, they're looking at being shot and taken out. Ukraine launched a counteroffensive into the border region in August last year. Since then, both sides have claimed to have inflicted significant losses on the other. Russia began sending North Korean troops to the region against Kiev's forces. Kiev. Against Kiev's forces in late 2024, according to Ukrainian, South Korean, and Western officials. They fight like hell. But the question is, okay, what does ABC think it knows that perhaps the rest of us? Why mention this now? North Korean troops have been on the ground fighting for Russia for quite some time. So what has occurred? I'm not prescient and I don't know, but something else has happened or is happening that made them feel compelled to write an article about this. Let's move on. This, I don't have time to go into this in the detail that is demanded. And I'm going to do a show in the not too terribly distant future about Islam in America and Islam in Europe. People who know me recognize and realize that, as I said not more than 10, 20 minutes ago, I'm not a big fan of organized religion. I'm not a big fan of organized religions who feature pederast priests and then bury them from law enforcement, such as what happened to me. And I'm certainly not a big fan of Islam. Islam is a death cult. It's not just a religion, it's an entire culture. It's an entire way of life. And you will be subsumed. You will be assimilated like the Borg. They are Borg-like. And having said that, anytime that you allow Islam into an area, demography is prophecy. And the point is to make that true to the point where Islam is in control. Islam is in control in essentially Dearborn, Michigan. Islam is in control essentially in Hamtramck. I have a difficult time saying that, but that's also in Michigan. Now, red, just as people would have you believe, deep red Texas, which I submit to you is predominantly purple until you get out of leftist urban rat cages like Houston or Dallas or Austin. They are rat cages. Texas is going purple. This story. Governor Abbott warns Epic City not to build. Developers have no project plans that have been submitted. Now, for those of you who are unaware, there are a group of individuals who are Muslim and are attempting to build sort of an isolated Muslim area only These are their plans. Let's see if there are no top views of this, but it's been on the internet and you can check it yourself. I always recommend checking it yourself. By the way, as a reminder, for the end of my show, especially on Rumble, if you go to my show on rumble.com and or if you go to bloviatingzeppelin.net, you will find a list of all my show links. So whatever it is that I speak about on the show, you will find all those links on Rumble, the SHR Media channel on Rumble, and the BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show on Rumble. Go to the individual show. This one will be posted later on tonight, and you'll be able to find all the links that I put up here to ensure and affirm that I am not kidding. Also, hey, welcome to Unleash Jeremy Hansen. Good to see you here. And Jeremy makes a very interesting comment also, as in Austin is a progressive shithole. Well, yes, it is. It defunded its police just to make a statement. And then this is also interesting. This is Mission Ready Men, whom I also feted earlier in the show in the first hour. That's Earl Big E Jackson. You can see his show. You saw it during the break. Earl lives in Texas. So if there's an individual on whose opinion I rely, it would certainly be Big E about this. Governor Abbott and the Texas Commission of Environmental Quality on Tuesday said no construction can begin on Epic City. Well, why would that be? Would it be something similar to, well, they haven't submitted any plans, but they're probably going to go ahead and do it. Now, this will be when they say Epic City. I got about 2 minutes before the top of the hour break. When they say Epic City, this, in my opinion, is in fact going to be epic, because there is a precedent about to be set. If it is such that Islam can get away with creating and building this city square in the middle of what appears to be, at first blush, a red state, the precedent will be set in terms of, you will see the demography and the push by Muslims to create like centers and cities where Sharia law will rule. Go look up Sharia law. I don't have time to go through all of these things, but friends, Romans, countrymen, Islam is not your friend. They are a death cult. And so they are going to push as much as humanly possible. CAIR, C-A-I-R, is in fact an organization representing terrorists, period, end of statement. And if this gets pushed through right here, and Texas does nothing about it, or the public, shall we say, pushes and says something similar to, oh, well, you have to let the poor muzzies have their own place. That will set a dangerous precedent, which will be carried out first close to most every leftist urban rat cage in the United States of America. And then, as I say, that precedent will be set. Governor Greg Abbott, the ball is in your court. As Earl said, this cannot be allowed to happen. You nip this shit in the bud, or you have sent and will be sending the United States of America to, excuse me, a dangerous, dangerous precipice.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, it's Sean from the Edge of Liberty. Join me right here on the SHR Media Network every Monday and Friday, 12 on the Pacific, 3 on the East Coast. On this show, we'll discuss news, politics, the government, how cranky we are about the government, and more. If you want to hear hard talk, good interviews, sarcasm, bad jokes, and oh God, that really is me in a nutshell. Either way, check me out right here on the Edge of Liberty every Monday and Friday, 12 Pacific, 3 on the East, on the SHR Media Network.
Freedom. One nation in all of human history was built on that bedrock. Ours. A republic of the people, by the people, and for the people. Self-government requires freedom, just as freedom requires an individual willingness to self-govern. Freedom has made America exceptional, but it can only last as long as you and I seek the good, as expressed by the laws of nature and nature's God. It can only last if you and I choose to act as people of character. Forging character has been the pursuit of Hillsdale College since 1844.
Are you looking for a way to boldly express your faith and love for your country? Then check out Seven Armors, the premier apparel company for patriotic men of God, where faith meets freedom in style. Our t-shirts are more than just clothing, they're statements. Bold, stylish, and meaningful. From timeless messages to modern designs, we've got something for every patriotic man of God. Wear your beliefs proudly with Seven Armors gear. Don't miss the chance to wear your faith and freedom on your sleeve. Visit 7armors.com today and join the movement. That's the number 7armors.com. 7armors.com. Faithful, vigilant, steadfast, passion.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
And it's the fastest 1 hour in radio. And now, hour 2. We are in hour 2. Slap that bass. Our plush, sumptuous, and palatial chat room awaits you. It is here. It looks like this. Jump into the SHR Media YouTube chat. And all the people that you see whose comments end up here, like, for example, Mission Ready Men, I grabbed this out of the YouTube chat, and you can be there too. Also, it's changed by 1 subscription. Oh my God. Okay. We are looking at SHR at trying to get 500 subscriptions to the SHR Media YouTube channel. I will run this if you can. We are so close. We are so close. We are about 50 so subscriptions away from breaking that magic 500 number on YouTube. And the algorithms become kinder to you when they believe that you're a little bit more serious than some other kind of little winky show, and you actually have a bunch of people that are interested in your content. And we wish that you are interested in our content. Push us over the top. Please, if you would, if you have not yet subscribed, you're listening live right now, or you happen to be listening live in podcast, or you happen to be listening to the SHR Media YouTube channel after the show, again, in podcast, and subscribe. Boy, would we appreciate that. We would absolutely love it. This is not a happy story, but this is the reality in which we have to live these days. The Federalist covered this. This is a story also by Newsmax. This is where we are in 2025, ladies and gentlemen. This is where we are. Survey. 55% of leftists say Trump murder would be justified. In other words, back in July of last year, 55% of leftists, liberals, but it's not liberals, it's leftists, wish that Trump had not turned his head. It's predominantly as simple as that. A majority of self-identified leftists say it would be at least somewhat justified to murder President Donald Trump, according to a new survey. The Network Contagion Research Institute and Rutgers Social Perception Lab yesterday released results of a survey to assess support. It was a survey to assess support for political violence in the United States of America. The results found, and again, we intuit this, we know, we have eyes, we have ears, we can see things, we look at the internet, we look at the television, we look at news, and we know this is true. Results found political violence targeting Trump and Elon Musk is becoming increasingly normalized. You can look at all the people that are insane out in the streets. And sadly, a shit ton of them are from boomers. I'm in the boomer generation. My parents were part of the greatest generation. My dad flew aircraft over Europe, came back and had a family. And boomers, sadly, it's being shown, they learn nothing. Right out of Game of Thrones, you know nothing, Jon Snow. And these people are... Who did you see lining the streets protesting at Tesla showrooms? Old, sad, fat fucks like me who have no common sense, but don't somehow mind, or they don't think they're being maligned if they're placed in with all the people that are truly violent, absolutely violent. Going back to the previous show, as Mission Ready Men said, in terms of Islam in Texas, this cannot be allowed to happen. And Jeremy Hansen says something very nice in terms of, well, you guys rock. Thank you kindly. I really appreciate it. But we cannot, I cannot emphasize this enough. Always do BZ's reversal theory to find out if there is true equality, I guess, if you will. Imagine then, if you will, in terms of this survey, had the reverse been true, that is to say, 55% of conservatives say a Biden murder would have been justified. Can you possibly feature the shitstorm that would have occurred 24/7 via the American media maggots for weeks had this been an actual story and the result of a survey? And that's all you need to know to ensure that it's biased. It's all biased. You know it. I know it. That's simply all the way. That's the way it is. I'm going to go back to something. Do you mind if I go back? Would you mind terribly if I went back?
It's time for happy stories and good times.
I didn't think you'd mind if we went back. This is from Naib Bukale from X, Twitter. And I subscribe to him. Look at him. This guy. Let's play this. This is a happy story. Last night, in a joint military operation with our allies from the United States, we transferred 17 extremely dangerous criminals linked to TDA and MS-13. Hey, stop for just a moment before I play this. Hey, remember the guy that the leftists said, oh, this poor guy, and the judge said, bring him back, way back. He's not Tren de Aragua. Well, they got that part right. But he was MS-13. Hit it, producer. Beauty. A thing of beauty. That makes water come to the corner of my eyes, thinking that there is still an amount of hope for the United States of America. Now, you may wonder, say, by the way, who is that guy? He happens to be the president, and he's the guy with whom is helping Donald Trump. It's a wonderful thing. Oh, speaking of happy stories, here's a very happy story that all the American media maggots wish wasn't true. Trump's job approval, this is from Breitbart. Trump's job approval rises 4 points to 53%. Oh, wait, this is the best part. During tariff week. So despite all of these tariffs are going to tear us apart, to those individuals, I say, just wait. Just wait. Literally, it is not 100 days into this administration. And Mission Ready Men said they would have already tried to round us up for re-education here in the United States of America. But the point of this is because of, I say because of, other people say despite, his approval ratings are going up. And this is absolutely enough to, let me see if I can find it, to make this happen to leftists. And I love that. I don't believe we will see. I know I will never see in my time. My time, you know, I could have my factory issued heart attack tomorrow. And so in my time, I'm not going to see anything like this ever again. So I have to appreciate it while it's here. Speaking of happy stories, okay, is this Schadenfreude or not? To me, yeah, okay. I'll go with that. It's Schadenfreude. Michelle Obama's new podcast is a dud with listeners. She was going to be the next Joe Rogan. I don't know. Maybe she could wrestle Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan's probably a little shorter, if I'm not mistaken. But she's not doing as well. That's where everyone is going now on the left side. We need a podcast. We need a competitor with Joe Rogan. We need a competitor to me, to all of the other people. And thank you again for listening. But the competition is not pulling things off. Here's something that I bet a bunch of you don't realize or haven't even heard of. And that's, do you remember Air America? Now, most people with an historical bent may think that Air America was the CIA fleet of aircraft, mostly in Southeast Asia. And yes, that is true. The CIA operated an airline, essentially, in Southeast Asia. That's not the Air America to which I refer. Air America was a consortium of leftists, funded by leftists, to compete with, I kind of think they were intentionally attempting to compete with Rush Limbaugh, though there was no competition. But Air America was a network attempting to compete with the other networks. And in the free market capitalistic society with which they attempted to compete, which is why NPR needs funding. NPR requires and demands funding, both radio and TV, because Air America proved without a shadow of a doubt that leftist ideas cannot survive in a free market capitalist society because nobody listened to them and their network died. And Michelle Obama's podcast is dying. And Gavin Newsom is not getting the numbers that he hoped and he demanded. Oh, I'm going to play this next. This is also a happy story. Oh, okay. Shadow warning. You already heard it. You know who it's going to be. Anyway, in open competition being, November 5th, Leftists cannot, they are proven to be, they cannot live in that kind of rarefied air. And it was proved then, and it's being proven now, which is why they have to go to all make and manner of exceptional circumstances to do that. And Mission Ready Man says, yeah, I got to run. Have a great night. Earl, thank you for being here. Earl has to get up early. He's a working man, and he has a job to do early in the morning. So thanks for being here, Earl. And who is this? Oh, well, you know, how do we need illegal invaders, don't we? Let me make sure the sound is on. Well, Jasmine Crockett says we need illegal invaders to do a job. Well, Jasmine, what job is that?
So I had to go around the country and educate people about what immigrants do for this country, or the fact that we are a country of immigrants.
Right.
The fact is, ain't none of y'all trying to go and farm right now. Okay, so I'm lying. Raise your hands.
Oh, Jasmine Crockett.
You're not. We done picking cotton. We are. You can't pay us enough to find a plantation. I know that's right. So I had.
So stop. Let me throw it out to you guys. Can you think of another interpretation for this other than the fact that Jasmine Crockett, being a racist, I mean, that's her nature anyway, said that the only justification for illegal invaders is to get in and amongst the crops, which is the shit that we're not going to do anymore because we were already slaves, and fuck that, fuck them. They can go into the fields and do that, and that's the only justification for illegal invaders. Right out, you know, I don't, like I said at the beginning of every show, I don't write this shit. I don't have to write it. All I need to do is go to the internet, find it, and display it for you. Because I would much rather have the words of leftists, Demorats, and the American media maggots and the globalists. I much prefer their verbal vomitus to be spewed all over the screen and assault your ossicles so that you can see the articles, see the videos, hear what they're saying. I absolutely 100% prefer their own words. Here's another wonderful. I do have a few happy stories coming up. We will get to tariffs. I'm pretty sure we're going to get to tariffs. Exclusive. Senior CIA official who facilitated Biden's military Wuhan 19 vaccine mandate fired. Terry Aderim, obviously someone who is very facile with a knife and fork, a senior Central Intelligence Agency official and former senior defense official who played a pivotal and potentially illegal role in the Biden administration's military vaccine mandate, was recently fired from the agency, a source has revealed to Breitbart. She left in December to the CIA as director of CIA Centers for Global Health Services about a week ago, according to the source. Her firing, oh no, she wasn't let go. She didn't decide to resign. Her firing was related to her role in forcing U.S. military service members to choose between taking a jab or being kicked out. So as far as I'm concerned, oh, baby, yeah, that is a happy story. Here's another happy story. Consequences. I have a little hashtag that I put under various stories in my social media. If you want to go to my social media, I am on X, Twitter, at BZ's Saloon, at BZ's Saloon. And in many of my posts, at the end of them, I usually put something similar to when it's like this in terms of hashtag consequences. There are consequences. So you don't want to take our deportees? Then you ain't coming to the country. U.S. revokes all South Sudan visas and bars future issuance until you accept our deportees. That's hardball. You know, in my world, okay, I'm a judgmental son of a bitch. And anybody that knows me knows that's true. And my death, which is coming, I always knew is going to be inconvenient, very improper. It won't be pleasant, and it's going to be really painful. I'm already aware of that because I'm harsh and judgmental, and that's my nature. But in my opinion, I'm not harsh enough, and I'm not judgmental enough. Here's another story. This is another great happy story. Top FDA vaccine official Peter Marks resigns in opposition to RFK Jr. Now, this is a leftist with a little bit of morals in terms of, did you see anybody else resign during Biden? No, zero accountability for anyone. This guy actually walks the walk and talks the talk. He doesn't like RFK. So as far as he's concerned, he's leaving. He's packing up his shit and he gonna get. Good for him. I most F say that is a happy story. Speaking of another happy story that involves medicine, entire CDC FOIA, Freedom of Information Act, the entire office was fired as the health agency moves to centralize its structures. Now, the terminations are part of RFK's restructuring plan aimed at streamlining things. And the interesting point about that is responses to FOIA, Freedom of Information Act requests regularly shed light on important topics. CDC records produced through FOIA showed that agency officials found evidence that COVID-19 vaccines cause deaths, saw millions of cases of post-vaccination Wuhan 19 early in the pandemic, and why officials changed the definition of a vaccine. We know what a vaccine is. We know what a vaccine looks like. But they had to change it for all the various exploding heads around the atmosphere in Leftistville. So if something doesn't compute, you have to change the terms. You have to grapple with the language itself. When in doubt, change the language, change the definitions. So a CDC person from the inside said that the agency's FOIA portal, the entire FOIA office, has been placed on admin leave. Kennedy said in March 27th, HHS is going to be cutting some 10,000 workers on top of another 10,000 that have recently been fired or left the health department. To which I say something similar to, if these people are non-essential, then why do they have a job? Because during times of crisis, don't we consistently hear something similar to, well, non-essential employees are staying home. Well, if you're non-essential, why do you have a fucking job? Now let's transition over to tariffs. This will likely take the rest of the show, I would expect. And you wanted me to get here. You wanted me to get into tariffs, and I am going to do that. I have a great video to play for you a little bit later on from VDH, Victor Davis Hansen, who gives a wonderful insight in terms of tariffs themselves. Tariffs are a tool. I got told on so many, first time I encounter somebody on social media, I'll try to be nice. Unless things are so terribly egregious. But the first thing that I encounter is F and S words from leftists. That's okay. They can say whatever they want. I've been labeled and yelled at by professionals. I've been shot at by professionals. I've been cut, stabbed by professionals, puked on, shit on by professionals, spit on by professionals. And none of these motherfuckers on social media are professionals. But, tariffs are bad. Tariffs are terrible. Well, I'm going to use in terms of tariffs a recent example of why these are necessary, why they are a tool, and they are attempting, Trump cadre, his cadre, are attempting to move us in the proper direction. Because as anybody with a head sitting upon their shoulders knows, well, if tariffs are terrible, then why are other countries, and why historically have other countries continue to levy tariffs upon us if they're bad? Well, they must be working for someone. So essentially, the best national defense is economic self-sufficiency. To me, those are clear facts and evidence. Self-sufficiently and strong redundant systems, not just an initial tertiary system, but a series of backups as well. The globalist economy, and were we not shown how fragile this was during Wuhan 19? And the answer is yes, of course we were. The globalist economy is built upon very, very long, very lean supply lines, which by their very nature, proven during Wuhan 19, are expensive and fragile. So if you can possibly remove the transportation middlemen from all of this GERP and keep manufacturing and workers here in the United States of America, it provides not just better economics, but it bolsters actual national security now and during tempestuous times like Wuhan 19. Think like that during Wuhan 19. The first thing that we should have been manufacturing at the conclusion of that is our own PPE. We should have been manufacturing our own antibiotics. We don't manufacture any of that in the United States of America. But China does. Medical devices. Why don't we manufacture as many of those things as we possibly can? So who makes our PPE? Who makes our antibiotics? Who makes our medical devices? We predominantly don't. Getting back to making our own products here is a further step towards the obvious: independence, national security, and a continuance. It allows a continuance of our sovereignty. So here's the story. Okay, I will go into this when we come back. Thank you ever so kindly for being here tonight. We only have about a half hour left of the show. I'm BZ. Always, you have my great gratitude for watching live and then listening and watching in podcast. God bless you all for that.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Welcome to River of Common Sense, where we cut through the noise of news and politics with a sharp wit and clear discussion. Tune in every Monday and Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for a refreshing dose of reality as we fearlessly tackle the tough topics with no nonsense, just pure common sense. Visit shrmedia.com to discover where you can catch River of Common Sense in action. He's here to amplify your inner logic. He may not always be polite, he may not always be refined, but one thing's for sure, he always tells it like it is.
Independence. With that declaration, America was born. Inspired by a belief in the God-given rights of every human being, and in the good that comes from exercising these rights well. The founders of our great nation chose independence. As do we. Hillsdale College accepts no government funding because independence makes possible the good to which we aspire.
Attention, all patriotic women of faith. Yep, I'm talking to you, sis. Are you looking for high-quality, super soft apparel that reflects your love for country and your devotion to God? Look no further than Carry Girl Gear. Picture this. You rocking a tee so soft it's like being hugged by a cloud, all while showing off your love for God and country. Sounds dreamy, right? Well, welcome to reality, babes, because that's what we're all about here at Carry Girl Gear. We specialize in super soft tees, tanks, and more, designed specifically for the strong, patriotic woman who proudly wants to carry their message of faith and freedom. When you shop with us, you're not just getting a t-shirt. You're joining a community of like-minded women who are proud to wear their beliefs straight on their tees. So whether you're sipping sweet tea on the porch or leading the charge for faith and freedom, do it in a Carry Girl tee. Because life's too short for stiff, boring tees. CarryGirl.com, where faith and freedom meets fashion.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
I'm BZ. I'm back. I'm really back. I've got a wide back. I've got a fat back. Baby got back. My dogs have back. I have 4 rescue dogs. They're right outside trying to get in. Hopefully you haven't been hearing them clawing on the door, as is their wont. Oh, damn it. I wish I had Action Dog Cam installed. I don't have his photo, but I have a dog. We lost a rescue dog it's not far from a year ago, by the name of Angus. He was a great Scotty dog. He was a rescue dog. He was 10 years old. We only had him for 3 years, and then he passed away. He had some heart issues. He passed away in June of last year. And currently we have 4 rescue dogs. Now the eldest is under this desk right here. His name is Jake. And actually, there are 2 dog beds under here. And I hadn't even been thinking about this. His time is coming. And you can tell he'll still drink water. He's not much interested in eating anymore. I'll tell you the story about Jake. He's an amazing dog. The guy, I think what happened to him originally is he got hit by a car, or he got hit by an object originally. He was a stray in Contra Costa County. When we picked him up, he was the most expensive rescue we've ever had. And Jake, from the very beginning, God bless him, he's never been all here. He's just a little off. He's a lot off, to be honest. He's a cute little dog, kind of a fox terrier, cream, white, funny little unit, but he has had everything go against him. When we got him, he had a huge tumor on his back about that long. And so we had to take care of that when we got him, and we had to heal him from that. And he got one of those damned Elizabethan collars for a long time. And then he currently has some kind of a liver problem, a growth, which is inside, which we were told cannot be fixed here. It would take about $12,000 to fix him in another state. And there's no guarantee that he would even survive the operation. And he has seizures. He's had seizures ever since we've got him. And he became blind in his right eye. Now he has a cataract in his left eye, and he can barely see. And he bumps into walls and things like that. And just a brave off into he's never been very social with anybody. He's not a big social dog with other dogs. And we're just afraid that in the not too terribly distant future, we're going to lose him too. Well, let's go back to tariffs. Boy, that was a downer. Jesus, BZ. Let's go back to something a little bit happier. How about this? Scott Besant says, now, what have I said? Historically, tariffs are a tool. If you're using tariffs, and like I say, don't go by what Trump says. Trump will troll the shit out of anyone and everyone just to see your reaction. You got to know how this soul operates. I have a pretty good grasp, and he's getting what he wants, and that's this. Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary. Now, all of a sudden, first it was 50 a couple of days ago. Now it's 70 nations want to negotiate over Trump's tariffs. People are saying at the White House that the calls are so solid coming in. There are so many nations attempting to negotiate that they have to schedule just the phone calls for the replies. That's good news. As far as I'm concerned, Trump is better than anyone, Bessent says, at giving himself maximum leverage. So these people are here to negotiate with him. Bessent said, you know what? It's going to be a busy April and May and maybe into June. That's a happy story. Oh no, BZ. No one wants, no, these, you're going to bankrupt. Trump is going to bankrupt everybody, turn this nation upside down. Anybody remember the New York Times and New York Times Magazine author who said under Trump 45, Paul Krugman, who was an economist, air quotes, who said something similar to, in the first 2 months of the Trump term, Trump is going to bankrupt the United States of America and cause it to go in a full-blown boom, like the times of 29. This from a person who is allegedly a scholarly economist. Well, that didn't happen. And so guess what? Japan came for some talks. Other nations are coming for talks. This shouldn't surprise anyone. And then I found this very interesting. This is our own Melanie Collette from SHR weighing in on tariffs. The guy on the upper left, listen to him. Here's Melanie Collette. You can see her on Newsmax. She has her own show again. Great person. She is a wealth of knowledge about the economy, budgets, money, and management.
Cumulative inflation was over 20% during the Biden-Harris administration.
Mm-hmm.
Where was it when regular
And it's
inflation
been going
was at
down
9%?
since Trump showed up.
What you said about the taxes being raised with tariffs, again, absolutely false, because the tariffs were so horrible. Why didn't the Biden-Harris administration do away with them on China?
Okay, stop with that common sense. Stop making sense. David Byrne, talking head, stop making sense. Melanie, go.
When they got into office, they didn't. They kept them, didn't they? But nobody wants to talk about that.
No.
Yeah, but they didn't raise them unilaterally for no reason.
My gears about Democrats is you just sit up there and lie. Either that or
and they didn't slap tariffs on Mexico and Canada.
Be quiet, Grant. She's fact checking you.
Be quiet, Grant.
None of the things that you said.
She's leaving out the important parts
at all. And where was that energy about prices going higher when cumulative inflation was over 20% during the Biden-Harris administration?
Mm-hmm.
Where was it when regular
and it's
inflation
been
was
going
at
down since Trump showed up.
What you said about the
inflation was going down until Trump showed up. Bullshit. And that's true with regard to the inflation. What did Trump leave Biden? About 2%. And so who destroyed it and who blew it up? Who did all that? Let's go here. This is from Fox Business again. Here's every country working on trade deals with the U.S. Let's go down. Israel, Japan, the United Kingdom, Vietnam, Cambodia, Thailand, India, South Korea, Australia, Argentina, Canada. These countries are all working with Trump regarding tariffs. Mexico, Switzerland, Malaysia, the European Union, Indonesia. Oh no, these tariffs are going to kill everyone and no one is going to be interested in negotiations at all. It's a tool. Well, let's go back just a bit, shall we? Let me see if I can get this to play. This is about a minute or so. Good old Nance herself.
Protecting the working man used to be what both parties did. Here's Nancy from 96. She sounded like Trump in a pantsuit.
In terms of jobs.
Sorry, it's a little low. You're going to have to crank your volume up on your end. I apologize for that. The volume is up as high as I can get it. Oh, go back. There we go. Now let's play it.
Hardworking Idaho families were crushed by Joe Biden's inflation. Now,
Okay, how about if I turn that off and just chat for a moment because I hate damn ads. And this is what you get. I've got another 17 minutes. But coming up, as I indicated earlier, I have a really great video by Victor Davis Hanson. So if you've always wondered, or if you have wondered just what are tariffs? How do they work? We're going to explain to you, Lucy. Oh, God dang it. Okay, well, so much for that.
Hardworking Idaho families were crushed by Joe Biden's inflation. Now big spending liberal politicians and...
Shut up. It's my show. I get to say that. Okay, here we go. Victor Davis Hanson talks about tariffs like nobody else can. Now, this is about 7 minutes, but the beauty of this show is that I'm not about sound bites, and I want you to have a very good idea of what it is that we're talking about. And because I have a 2-hour show, I have the time and the wherewithal to be able to have people who with much greater expertise than I to talk to me and you about the issues at hand. This is Victor Davis Hanson, professor of just about everything, mostly history, from Fresno State. If I'm not mistaken, take it away.
April 3rd, Donald Trump announced it as Liberation Day. By that, he meant we were going to be liberated from asymmetrical tariffs of the last 50 years. And it was going to inaugurate a new, what he called, golden age of trade parity. And yet the world seemed to erupt in anger. It was very strange, which brings up another question. Are our tariffs really tariffs? That is, were they preemptive? Were they punitive? No, they're almost leveled on autopilot. Whatever a particular country tariffs us, we reciprocate and just mirror image them. In other words, it's their choice, not ours.
It's always been their choice.
Hello, this is Victor Davis Hanson for the Daily Signal. April 3rd, Donald Trump announced it as Liberation Day. And by that, he meant we were going to be liberated from asymmetrical tariffs of the last 50 years. And it was going to inaugurate a new, what he called, golden age of trade parity, greater investment in the United States, but mostly greater job opportunities and higher paying jobs for Americans.
And leftists fell apart, and Demorats fell apart, and people with zero patience fell apart, and people that have no insight fell apart, and people that have zero ability to look within themselves and say, I'm an American. Yes, I've been warped by iPhones and by social media, but why don't I just take a break for a moment and see if I can try to understand what it is that Donald John Trump is doing? Go.
And yet the world seemed to erupt in anger. Yes. It was very strange. Even people on the libertarian right and, of course, the left were very angry. Wall Street Journal pilloried Donald Trump. But here's my question. China has prohibitive tariffs. So does Vietnam. So does Mexico. So does Europe. So do a lot of countries. So does India. But if tariffs are so destructive of their economies, why is China booming?
See, this is a question that any number of people have asked. If tariffs are so bad, but this falls into the category of, even Captain Obvious looks up and rolls his eyes and taps his foot when you mention this. If tariffs are so terrible, why are there tariffs, especially against the United States?
How did India become an economic powerhouse when it has these exorbitant tariffs on American imports? How did Vietnam, of all places, become such a different country, even though it has these prohibitive tariffs? Why isn't Germany, before its energy problems, why wasn't it a wreck? It's got tariffs on almost everything that we send them. How is the EU even functioning with these tariffs? I thought tariffs destroyed an economy, but they seem to like them. And they're angry that they're no longer asymmetrical. Apparently, our people who are tariffing us think tariffs improve their economy. Maybe they're right. I don't know. The second thing is, why would you get angry at the person who is reacting to the asymmetrical tariff and not the people who inaugurated the tariff? Why is Canada mad at us when it's running a $63 billion surplus and it has tariffs on some American products at 250%?
Well, I can answer on one level, and that level is nobody's complained. Nobody in the United States has said, hey, stop. Nobody on the United States side has said, I don't like this anymore. We're being bent over and we don't like it. It's Thug's Law. Is it not another iteration of Thug's Law in terms of what's mine is mine, what's yours is mine? Until you stop me, or until you object, or until you do something to defend yourself and keep this from occurring. DJT.
Doesn't it seem like the people who started this asymmetrical, if I could use the word trade war, should be the culpable people, not the people who are reluctantly reacting to it? Sort of like Ukraine and Russia. Russia invaded Ukraine. Do we blame Ukraine for defending itself and trying to reciprocate? No, we don't. We don't blame America because it finally woke up and said, whatever they tariff us, we're going to tariff them. Which brings up another question. Are our tariffs really tariffs? That is, were they preemptive? Were they leveled against countries that had no tariffs against us? Were they punitive? No. They're almost leveled on autopilot. Whatever a particular country tariffs us, we reciprocate and just mirror image them. And they go off anytime that country says, it was a mistake. We're sorry. You're an ally. You're a neutral. We're not going to tariff this American product. And then we say, fine. Then the autopilot ceases and the automatic tariff ends. In other words, it's their choice, not ours. We're just reacting to what they did, not what we did.
Let me stop there just for a second. Not long ago, when I retired in 2016, I was in charge of EVOC, which is our emergency vehicle operations course. And while I was there, I said in various forms of lectures, because we can do a thing, should we do a thing? That's a point to ponder, a point to consider. And the other thing I said is that in terms of pursuits, all we have to do is come in a cogent and reliable second place. The pursuit, the path, etc., will be on the suspect. And all you have to do is drive a good, logical response in that pursuit. The onus is going to be on them. And you can translate that over to, we didn't start the war. We didn't start the tariffs. But if we respond to it, somehow the cop, the good guy, becomes the bad guy. I know perhaps that's a bit of a stretch for an analogy, but in my brain, it's something similar. We went to response and suddenly we're the bad guy because historically for years, we've been taking it up the ass. And now because we won't and we object, we're the bad guy.
Well, of other questions that I've had, we haven't run a trade surplus since 1975. 50 years. So it wasn't suddenly we woke up and said, it's unfair. We want commercial justice. No, we've been watching this happen for 50 years. It's been going on. And no president or no administration, no Congress in the past has done anything about it.
Bingo.
Done anything about what? Leveling tariffs on our products that we don't level on theirs. It was all predicated in the post-war period. We were so affluent, so powerful. Europe, China, Russia was in shambles, that we had to take up the burdens of reviving the economy by taking great trade deficits. 50 years later, we have been deindustrialized. And the countries who did this to us by these unfair and asymmetrical tariffs did not fall apart. They did not self-destruct. They apparently thought it was in their self-interest. And if anybody calibrates the recent GDP growth of India or Taiwan or South Korea or Japan, they seem to have some logic to it.
Stop just for a second. Harken back to the Marshall Plan. We not only stood up for the entire free world, we helped rebuild the entire free world. Your hard-earned taxpayer dollars did that.
There's a final irony. The people who are warning us most vehemently about this tariff quote the Smoot-Hawley Act of 1930. But remember something. That came after the onset of the Depression. After the stock market crashed in 1929. That law was not passed till 1930. It was not really implemented to 31. And here's the other thing that they were conveniently not reminded of. We were running a surplus. That was a preemptive punitive tariff on our part against other countries. We had a trade surplus, and it was not 10 or 20%. Some of the tariffs were 40 and 50%. And again, it happened after the collapse of the stock market. In conclusion, don't you find it very ironic that Wall Street is blaming the Trump tariffs for heading us into a recession, if not depression, when the only Great Depression we've ever had was not caused by tariffs, but by Wall Street?
Stop. The Depression was caused not by tariffs, but by Wall Street. It helps when you know history, and it helps when you know people that know people who know history.
This is Victor Davis Hanson for the Daily Signal.
An excellent lesson about tariffs. I got about 5 more minutes before the end of the show. Here's another gentleman in response. This is from the X page of Timothy Wilcox. Sadly, I do not know the name of this individual, but again, damn him for making sense.
The legacy media wants you to believe that President Trump's tariffs are creating havoc across the globe, and it is all doom and gloom. Just note that as of 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time today, at least 70 countries have already come to the table begging the White House to negotiate these tariffs. Make no mistake, President Trump knows exactly what he is doing. And what he is doing is what he promised on the campaign trail all along, putting Americans first and foremost.
Thank you.
So yes, although there may be short-term pain, the long-term gain is going to benefit every single American, even those Americans who are standing in the studios of legacy media networks all across this country as we speak, crying about these tariffs. Even those who march the streets crying about the tariffs over the weekend. Make no mistake, they too will benefit from President Trump's executive actions in making these other countries pay for what they've taken from the American people. My advice to you, America, is hold strong. I know you're hearing a lot come from the left and in some cases from the right, but understand that President Trump has never and would never do anything that goes against the American people. The new golden age of America is here, and we're about to see it unfold. Much love, God bless, much more to come.
There is much more to come. As most of the members of SHR have been saying, CTFD, calm the fuck down. It's like being a cop. I've made this analogy before. We'll walk into a domestic violence call or some kind of a fight call where the problem has been brewing within two people or an entire family for 10 years, 15 years, 20, 50 years. And we have roughly 45 minutes to an hour to try to unfuck something that took that long before someone called it to our attention. Calmate. Calm down. Not even 100 days yet. Not even a year. Just wait. Just calm. Oh, no, this has to happen tomorrow. Absolute no. It's not going to happen tomorrow. And if you're not going to support President Trump because it doesn't happen tomorrow, then you may as well take yourself and forcibly move yourself over into the leftist column. You have no patience. And I try to temper prudence while I am here and while you are here. Calm down. There's a lot of stuff going on in the background. Trump does, I think, his best to try to keep us in the loop about what's going on. Trump's not perfect. I was the first to say that. I'd have him over for dinner, but there isn't, I don't love everything. I don't love him, and I don't love everything that he has done. He has made a litany of mistakes as 45. He's made some mistakes here that I do not agree with. But more than any other president in my time ever, do I think we may have found a president who actually gives a shit about the American taxpayer and about actual Americans. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, thanks for being here tonight. Kudos to you for hanging around. Thanks for watching live. Thanks for watching in podcast. It will be put up in social media here in about half hour, 45 minutes, maybe 2 hours or so, depending on how much vodka I drink in the meantime. Moose and Squirrel. Tiaras are by My Little Pony, and promotional consideration, of course, is by the Lockheed Martin Skunk Works, by Shure, and Electro Voice microphones, and also by the people who manufacture my board, Arrakis, by Pratt & Whitney Engines, producing thrust you can trust. And, of course, I'll be meeting with my KC-135 Kettle One refueling team in about 15 or 20 minutes or so, topping off the tank that I have here. Tomorrow night. Oh, by the way, yeah, let's do this. If I can find it, I'll do it after the show.
Everybody quiet down now and get some sleep.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, Mama. Good night, Ben. Good night, everyone.
Good night, Mama. Good night, Daddy.
Good night, children. Good night, Daddy. Good night, Elizabeth.
Good night, John Boy. Good night, Jim Bob. Good night, Jim Bob.
Good night, Jim Bob.
What's going on? I was asleep. What's everybody doing?
Good night,
Good night, Jim Bob.
Good night and good luck.
And I want to leave everybody with this. The next SHR show is going to be tomorrow, The Edge of Liberty, tomorrow night. And that's going to be Wednesday night, tomorrow night, at 8 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Central, 11 p.m. Eastern. And then tomorrow morning will be the Rick Robinson Show on KLRN, at KLRN on X, and that's 9 a.m. Pacific and 11 a.m. Central and noon Eastern. Also, at the same time, which is kind of interesting, is Big E Earl Jackson with Mission Ready Men. Now, this gentleman, Rick Robinson, is on KLRN. And Mission Ready Men is on the SHR Media Network. And Earl Jackson, his show starts tomorrow. You can watch it on the SHR Media YouTube channel. Begins also at 9 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Central, and noon Eastern. So I just want to let everybody know you got a lot of shows to choose from, and I myself will be back next Thursday night with another show just for you. God bless you all. Thanks for watching.